Hey JD, how are you?
I'm doing well, Keith. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. How's your day so far?
I mean, so far it's going all right. It's a beautiful sunny Sunday, so hard to
Man.
complain.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So JD, October 22nd, you're releasing your single Voices in the Dark. So can you tell me a bit about the single, the production behind the single?
Yeah, of course. Excuse me. So basically, the project is JD McGibney and friends, and the whole project kind of came together because I wanted to start having like a conversation about people sharing their experiences with mental health, and
Yeah.
in my experience, and it's mental health is not a topic that's easily talked about. So from personal experience and just people that I'm friends with, people that I know, uh, and so this project was really just meant to like kickstart those conversations and kind of like let people know that like whatever it is that you're feeling, whatever it is that you're struggling with, like it's okay to share, what you're going through. It's like there's no shame, there's no harm in
Yeah.
feeling those emotions because you're a human being, you have those emotions. So I ended up doing this first song, "Voices in the Dark," with my buddy Ken Balbo of Orphanland,
Mhm.
and honestly, it felt relieving to be able to kind of like take uh, the emotions and like the focus and the frustration and like the negativity that I was feeling with like my own personal struggles with anxiety, and put it into just like this one particular song. And then what started off as something that was like a negative feeling kind of turned into like a rally call to like remind myself that like, this is just like a small moment. It's something that I can conquer, something that I can overcome.
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. And
Oh, well, thank
how
you.
how did you get with Ken Balbo's guy from Orphan Land? So how did this connection happen? And did you guys know each other before making this collaboration?
Yeah, I've known him for a few years now. We met because I was filling in on guitar for a band called Voodoo Kung Fu
Hmm.
back in 2017. And the Voodoo Kung Fu was on the same tour bill as Orphanland when they did their 2017 North America run. So I just met Hen, just from being on tour with them. And within like 5 minutes, him and I basically just became friends, and it's kind of just been the same, since then. Literally one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life, one of the most caring and giving individuals like ever. So that's pretty much how I met him.
Sounds good. And talking about Voices in the Dark, so right now you're going to release your single. So is there any plan that you want to come up with a full-length album?
Well, I have a band, Angels on the Battlefield, which I'm
Yes.
currently working on, uh, like a full album and a full like stage project that's also linked to basically helping end the stigma around mental health, and it's also in partnership with the Rock Foundation. So that'll have a full album and like a whole stage show and like the whole 9 yards, as they say.
Yeah.
But JD and Friends is meant to just kind of be like one-off songs here and there, like working with specific individuals that
Gotcha.
you know I feel share the same aspirations to kind of like get the conversation going, kind of end that stigma of like sharing what people are going through. So that'll keep going like as a series of singles.
Sounds good. And how did it JD, McGibney, and friends really started? And what was the idea that went into your mind before coming up with these things?
I just there's so many people that I am friends with that I feel are just very talented individuals, and uh, I also have noticed that like a lot of friends, a lot of people that I admire, and a lot of people that I respect also have had struggles with mental health, and also very much want to end that stigma. So I kind of just took my own aspirations of like getting that conversation started, and just reached out to some friends to say, hey, how do you guys feel about taking something that like we understand, which is music, something that we feel
Yeah.
comfortable with, and expressing ourselves, and using it to kind of just like kickstart the conversation. And that's really the what got it. I started going to therapy for the first time in my life, a couple months ago, And just through doing that, there was just a lot of, you know, inward soul searching, so to speak. And I realized that I want to be able to help people. And I feel like a good way to do that is just to encourage people to like have the strength to look inside themselves and just say, hey, you know, like I can handle whatever it is that's going on in front of me. And it's okay for me to not be okay.
Yeah, sounds good. And you also said like you had worked on in the past, you have searched for the inner demon inside of you and tried to figure out things. And the same way you started helping others to find their inner demon. So how did this process happen and how do you make people realize what is going on inside of them?
Man, I for most of my life, uh, I've just always wanted to help people. But for a really long time, I did it in a very unhealthy way where I would do things to help people, but I would sacrifice my own physical or like my own mental well-being in order to do that. And like I said, you know, it like I started going to therapy recently, and like that really helped me identify the fact that I was doing that, and it helped me kind of put things into perspective. And music in general for me has always been like an anchor, like a saving grace, and it helped me make sense of what I was feeling inside. So like if I felt like, you know, a moment of like intensity where I couldn't like make sense of stuff, I would either go play guitar, I would listen to music, and just in some way the music would be there to help me focus those negative energies and kind of like work things through. So when I finally realized like I still wanted to help people, I decided that I wanted to use music, which had been so important to me, like physically and mentally, and use that as the vehicle in order to actually help people in a healthy way.
Amazing. And like you said, music helps a lot of people. Like music is the vehicle. Like you said, it can change a person. It can do a lot of things. It can be your anger management tool. It can be your, when you are into depression, you are into stress, music helps a lot. And the other side, even certain artists couldn't face certain things and they have taken out their lives. So is there any message from you for people who are getting into the suicidal temptations and things like that? So what would be your words for them?
My words for people who feel like they're just being overwhelmed by their feelings, by their emotions, like, you know, feeling of darkness, is that no matter what it is that you are feeling, even if you feel like you're in like this darkest pit, like this isolation, the truth is you are never truly alone. Like there's always people, you know, if it's not like a direct family member, if it's not like a friend, if it's not like an acquaintance, there are always people who understand your perspective. There's always people in the world who are compassionate and empathetic to what it is that you're feeling, that you can reach out to, that will understand what you're going through, because they themselves have also gone through, you know, similar situations. So like my words to those people are that you're never truly alone. There's always an option. There's always someone available that you can speak to and talk to, because from my own personal experience, feeling like I couldn't talk to anybody or feeling like I couldn't relate to anybody was a big part of what kind of kept me in my, you know, my spirals, like those like dark times. But like slowly realizing that there are people that I can talk to, whether it's like a professional like therapist, you know, that definitely has helped me, or just having people that have gone through similar things that most people wouldn't understand. Being able to connect with someone on that level is definitely lightened the load, because I feel like I'm not just carrying it by myself. And then to those people, I say, just remember that you are never truly alone.
Awesome message, JD. And
Thank you.
and talking about battlefields on the wings of dragon. So what stage is the current album missing, and is there any particular concept that you are working on this particular album?
Oh man, for Angels on the Battlefield right now, there's a full album, but the focus is actually putting together a full like stage show, like a theatrical stage show. So right now, have a bunch of musicians that are like finally like officially a part of the project, and we are now moving forward with trying to basically reach out and make business deals to make the stage show come to life.
Sounds great. And the name itself has the combination of a fantasy, a war, a lot of warriors. It's all mixed together. So how did you come up with this concept? And do you have any plans to come up with some cinematic experience in the future?
Oh man, that's a really good question. The idea for like the name was just trying to capture that feeling of just something that's larger than life, but also give the listener, the reader, whoever is hearing the name or seeing the name, give them hope. Like, oh wow, this is a very epic scene, but I feel inspired to, be a part of this, or I feel inspired to just, take on the day and like conquer it. Like, so that's kind of like the inspiration in a nutshell for the name of the band. It's like I wanted to have that big, grandiose, larger than life thing, but also like give people, that inner strength and be like, yeah, no, I can totally do this. And there is definitely a cinematic plan. So like there's a whole plan to start doing these big epic like narrative music videos and whatnot for each of the songs.
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing, JD. And you have a big plan that was put before you, that you are uniting a lot of musicians, come up with a lot of plans. So how did the plan of uniting the musical fraternity really come to your mind, and what was the reason behind it?
I mean, I love people. I love working with people. I love meeting people. I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing people's experiences, and like being in the music industry, I'm just, surrounded by musicians like all day, every day, pretty much. So it just happened to make friends with a lot of, musicians, a lot of artists, a lot of people in the film industry, just because I was in LA for a couple of years. And there's just so many creative minds that I felt like kind of taking the people that I have relationships with, people that I'm friends with, people that I respect and admire, and kind of just suggesting, hey, why don't we do this together? I think it gives people a little bit of a direction and hope to be like, oh, I'm using my art, I'm using my skills that I've honed for like a greater purpose other than just, let me just make a piece of art because like I want to, have a radio hit. So like taking that and giving it that focus and giving it a direction that gives back to the community, I think really has connected with a lot of people, in a way that, doesn't really happen all too often.
Wonderful. And from New York to the world, you have traveled far and wide, playing music around the world. So how has the journey been for you so far?
Oh man, it has been so much fun. I think being able to travel and play music is like one of the most freeing and like exhilarating feelings like I've ever had in my entire life. It's like I get to play music, which has meant so much to me personally, and I get to share that with people live, like in the same room with people, and that alone is just a magical feeling. Like I'm sure you've been to like a million concerts yourself, so like you're just like, oh man, this feels great. But like getting to do it in a way where like each day is a brand new city, so you get to experience different cultures every single day and then have that magical connection every single night. Like even if you're in a place like the United States, which is one country, but it is huge, like geographically speaking, it is big. So like if you're like in New York one day and then you're in like Pennsylvania the next day, like it's literally like two different planets. So like there's definitely there's so much to like learn, so much to take in when you're able to like travel around like that. And I love seeing the diversity in the world and seeing how everyone still has that same joy over live music and how everyone comes together over it despite how different people are. It's very encouraging. That and the food everywhere is amazing. So
Totally. And mental awareness is something that is need for the current situation around the world. A lot of people are suffering through this. And why you chose particularly this particular topic, and why do you want to dig deeper into this?
The reason why I picked mental health is just because it's been such a significant part of my life for literally my entire life. And you know, starting with people that family members that have suffered from, mental illness, to like me developing anxiety when I was a teenager and like not realizing it until I was in like my 20s or 30s. But the effects that it's had on me, and then taking the time and understanding really what was going on, and then like analyzing my life and realizing all the decisions that I've made, all the actions that I've done, my behavior, it really has affected a good chunk of like all the negative things that have happened in my life. And then seeing friends, seeing family members, seeing loved ones, seeing acquaintances, just strangers, like the amount of struggle that goes on, it breaks my heart seeing all of that. And then like knowing what I've gone through with, anxiety, and then seeing people who have, even worse mental illnesses going through struggles. Like I can only imagine the amount of torment that they feel that they're going through. And I feel like a lot of people don't take the time to share what it is that they're going on, because they either feel like it's shameful to feel that way, like something like they're broken, which they're not at all, or people just feel like they can't reach out to people because there's this taboo, like they're just going to get shunned, or like no one really wants to deal with that because people will just like leave them because they're, oh, something's wrong. And I want to encourage everyone, people who are struggling, people who aren't struggling, people who just have people in their lives that they know that are, it's okay to admit that something's going on and reach out and talk to people. And like I want to encourage people to be there for one another. And like I said earlier, like music has just been so pivotal and important to me personally, and keeping me grounded, and it's been so important to keep me from going, over the edge, that like it makes sense to use that as, kind of like an anchor for everything.
And you also do a lot of clinics and classes. So do you take a lot of students over the time, and do you have any criteria for picking up students for the classes?
I have taken students. I haven't taken up private students in quite a while, just because the past like year or two, actually 2 years now because COVID, I've been focusing on working with my buddy Thomas Beleza with his production company, BBR Productions. So like I just didn't have a lot of time focusing on music. But as of lately, the past couple of months or so, I've gone back to doing music. But my criteria for taking on students is just finding someone that like genuinely wants to take on, like learn the instrument. So like if I can help them connect with it, that's my goal. Like my goal isn't to make sure that you become a virtuoso. My goal is to make sure that you're connecting with the instrument, in a way that's unique to you, so that you can express yourself, you can speak through your instrument. If you end up becoming, the next Steve Vai, cheers to you very much, keep going for it. But my goal is to make sure that you like get those foundations, that you stick with that, on a deeper level.
Absolutely, awesome. And just want to know, when did you first pick your first guitar, and why do you go for that particular instrument?
Oh man, my very first guitar was my dad's old acoustic from when he was 10 years old. I heard a song on the radio. Like my dad had picked me up from high school, driving home, in the afternoon. Song comes on the radio. It was actually the NIB by Black Sabbath. It was the Primus cover, so it's just like really like extra heavy guitar. And like, so the song comes on, I'm like, oh wow, this is awesome. And like the song ends as like my dad's pulling into the driveway. So like the song ends, my dad turns off the car. I just like looked at my dad and I'm like, Dad, I want to learn guitar. So he's like, you know what? I used to have an old acoustic when I was 10 that I tried learning. It just didn't pick up. Your grandparents might have it still. So next day or two, we ended up going over to my grandparents and they dug it out and they found it. And the thing was beat to, it was just so beat up. It was just not taken care of. Like the neck was warped, like the bridge was coming off. Like it was terrible. But I picked it up and I didn't stop playing. Like it was so difficult to play it because like the strings were so far off the neck. But I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna play this thing.
And would you like to tell how you mastered the instrument and what made you to perfect the instrument?
Oh man, that is another good question, and I feel like it's a loaded question because the artist in me keeps telling me that like I haven't fully mastered the guitar, just because like I always feel like there's like another step and another step. I can do better. I can do better. I mean, that I feel like that's also just like my anxiety telling me like, oh, you can do better. You can do better. You know, that's a perfect example of like, mental health and like perspective. But I feel comfortable enough with the instrument that, I enjoy expressing myself through it. And I enjoy being able to share that with people. It's interesting because like I feel like that feeling came pretty quickly, even like when I had just picked up the guitar. Like once I got like the basics, I'm like, okay, this is a note. This is how I play the thing. I was terrible. I was god awful. As most people are when you pick up an instrument for the first time. But like just having that experience of being able to express myself through a musical instrument and like be able to express myself without the use of words, I think was just a magical feeling. And I think right away that connection, that deep connection with the guitar, like was there from like the first moments I picked it up to like even now. But considering myself a master, I still do not consider that I do not think that I have mastered the instrument.
Good answer from you, JD. And
thank you.
and like this was spoken earlier by us, like music is a healer. So there are a lot of people trying to invent, to find a cure for a lot of mental illness, to try to bring people who are suffering through it and try to heal them musically. So is there something that you are doing a research or things like that to find a solution for this?
I personally am not doing research on this, but I do very much support mental health organizations like nonprofits that do like that active effort. Like the partnership that I have with the You Rock Foundation, like I very much believe in their message of getting people to talk and share their stories in order to alleviate that tension that they're feeling, like a pressure release valve. So I very much agree with them and their mission. And then there's an organization, NAMI, which is like one of the largest mental health organizations in the entire United States. Excuse me. And basically they advocate for political change. So like they're the ones like who are directly involved with getting like laws and like regulations changed for the betterment of like medical care and whatnot, and like the availability of resources in Congress. And they also help facilitate that kind of like a deep research on like how do we get a cure, or how do we get people like the proper therapy that they need. So I myself do not possess the knowledge to do that, but I very much will support those who do.
Wonderful, JD. And do you have any plans to go on a tour anytime sooner?
At the moment, there are no plans to go out on the road. Again, like I'm focusing on getting those business deals in place for Angels on the Battlefield in order to make that tour happen.
Wonderful. And what would be the release day plan for this single, Voices in the Dark?
Voices in the Dark comes out October 22nd, and then everyone can hear, listen, download to their leisure. And we are donating portion of the royalties to the You Rock Foundation and to NAMI. So anytime anyone listens to it, they're basically donating to charity.
Wonderful. That's awesome to hear, JD. And would you like to share some of the great moments that you had over the years?
Oh man, that's another good question. There's just so many good moments in general. In what regard? I mean,
anything personal, musically, whatever that went through your life that makes you feel, wow, this is amazing. This happened to me. So something like that.
you know what? I think something that I'll share two things. A few years ago, like when I first moved to, shortly after I first moved to Los Angeles, I started, actively, I started being more active on social media, reaching out, doing the social media thing. And someone at one point sent me a handwritten letter, basically thanking me for inspiring them to pick up a guitar. And it was just really, really long, really beautifully written letter. And like, that really touched me because it's like I had mentioned before, music has been so important to me and has been so helpful and like, so, for lack of a better word, spiritual for me, that to hear that, someone was inspired by my actions to do this, to basically pick up an instrument that has been so pivotal. That was really, it was really inspiring, and really it drove me to keep going to do what I'm doing. Second thing, kind of similar. Ever since I started doing like more of a focus on mental health awareness, ever since I announced the song with Ken, and ever since I started doing my podcast, I've had a bunch of people reach out to me personally and just say thank you and express like genuine gratitude for the fact that like me and my friends are so openly having these conversations and like talking about our experiences, that they've said that like they just hearing that and seeing that makes them feel not alone. And like I've started to see some of these people start to speak about their own experiences as well. So like the conversation is starting to take place, and I'm physically seeing more and more people feeling less ashamed of what they're going through. And I think that is also a very beautiful thing.
Wonderful for sharing with me, JD. And JD, what would be the dreams for you?
Oh man, what kind of dreams?
Anything.
I mean, I would absolutely love to have like endless New York pizza like on my on my table every day. Like that's a dream. So like what kind of dreams are you asking?
Like everybody had something to accomplish in the future. Like childhood dreams would be that I want to be this kind of person. I want to be known around the world. So what was there inside your thought?
Man, if I'm really just gonna like boil it down, just be able to help people and make people feel good. Like if I can leave everyone that I interact with a smile on their face when we part, then I think I've done my job.
Wonderful. Wonderful, JD. And talking about Battlefields on the Wings of the Dragon, so is there any news about when the album is going to be released? Any idea on those things? Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. There's no official date for that one. We're still doing a little bit of we're still doing like recordings for the album, and like I said, like we still got those business deals. So like I got a couple of new musicians who joined the project. So kind of getting everyone acquainted. Like was it Jason Klein from Butcher Babies is playing bass. William Learman from Voodoo Kung Fu is playing drums, and then Chris Wersig, who's a TV and film composer, is doing all the orchestration for everything. So there's all the demos and everything were done, but it's just kind of like getting them acquainted with the material and getting acquainted with one another. We are working on a single that is going to be coming out. We still do not have a date for that one, but that's our most recent project this way. It's kind of like a fun project that like the four of us can kind of like do to like get used to each other and work with one another. So that'll probably be coming maybe end of the year, beginning of next. Kind of we'll see how the timeline ends up working out, but that's most I got.
Wonderful. And I know you have worked with a lot of projects with a lot of bands over the years. And do you have any plans to do something out of the box, going to a different thing, experience and research on different kind of music in the future?
Oh man, I think I think the most out of the box thing is the stage show for Angels on the Battlefield. One, the main purpose of the show is to stick with like the conversation of like raising the conversation of mental health and like encouraging people, but it's also going to be donating a portion of the proceeds to the You Rock Foundation. So like if you come see the show, you're also going to be like part of the money that you spend is getting sent to You Rock Foundation to continue, you know, their mission. But the stage show is going to involve like this whole theatrical, like there's going to be like performers on stage, like telling a story, because everything's instrumental. So like the whole plan is to basically have a like a heavy metal Cirque du Soleil going on tour. So I think that's probably the most out of the box thing that I got going on right now.
Wonderful and awesome that you are doing a lot of charities for this organization. It's really great to hear that you are a wonderful person. And what would be the next plans for you apart from the album and with JD and the friends?
Oh man, what's next? That's a good question. Probably end up getting myself situated and organized and get out of Ohio. So that's probably the next thing.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And how do you feel about the road of success in your life?
Oh man, success has definitely been not what I expected. There's definitely been a lot of learning along the way. I was lucky enough to find a mentor, again, Thomas J. Beleza, who really kind of changed the way I was thinking about things and taught me the difference between, you know, having like an artist mentality and then thinking like a business. And one of the most important things that he ever taught me, which I hold dear to my heart at this point, is that you should always have two brains. Like if you want to be in entertainment, two brains, your artist brain and your business brain. And when you're creating your art, you're making your music, you're making your film, you're writing your book, you know, you're doing your sculpture, just only think with your artist brain. Do not think about the business. Just create something that means something to you. Create something that you are proud of. And then when you're done, turn that off and you have to switch to your business brain, because the two things have nothing to do with one another. You know, like I learned, and this is probably the most heartbreaking and most freeing lesson I ever learned, is that my art would never, under any circumstances, be the reason for my success. So the reason for my success would come down to my ability to run myself like a business. So I would say that it definitely, the road to success came from those core lessons right there, and definitely led me down paths that I definitely didn't expect. But I am very happy with where I am and where I am aiming to go.
Wonderful, wonderful, JD. And lately, I have seen a lot of metal videos by different bands, and I had a feeling they make better movies than the real movie directors and things like that. So
I know, it's crazy.
yeah.
Like, have you seen like some of the earlier Amaranth videos? Like Universal Pictures literally like made those films. It's crazy.
Yeah. So do you have anything that goes on your head thinking that you want to do some kind of movie or something closer to?
Oh man, totally. Every single one of the music videos that I want to do literally is going to be short silent films, and then there's plans to do like a mini series and then like a whole full-length feature. So there's definitely a lot of theatrical elements in the noggin.
Wonderful, wonderful, JD. And JD, finally, what would be the message that you want to give to the fans around the world?
My message to fans around the world, to anybody listening, some people who aren't fans, just anyone in general, is that no matter what it is that you're facing today, what you're facing tomorrow, what you faced last week, what you're going to face next year, you always have the strength to conquer your battlefield.
Wonderful, wonderful message, JD. And JD, thank you so much for giving me your time today for this interview. And it's a real pleasure and honor to meet you today and have this interview. And thanks again for the amazing music that you're giving to the world over the years. Thank you so much for that. And you have a good day ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you, Keith. Thank you for the chance to chat and for the opportunity to meet you and get to stare at your beautiful smiling face all day.
Thank you, JD. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too, dude.
Yeah, bye.